Everybody these days is saying a topper tent is the best way of getting out and adventuring, roaming around, finding epic destinations for overlanding. But is that really true? I mean, these tents are super expensive, costing thousands of dollars. And are they really as comfortable as what the internet's making them out to be? You see, I was suckered into it. I believed that they were telling me the truth, that topper tents were the only way of being an epic overlander, taking my 4x4 to remote destinations and having the most wonderful experience on top of the mountains or down in the canyons, being comfortable camping while being completely alone and secluded out in the wild. That's what I wanted. That's really what I dreamed of day in and day out. The problem was I didn't have thousands of dollars to spend on a topper tent. I just signed up for a new job and didn't have the ability to put thousands of dollars down on a brand new topper tent. But that didn't hold me back from doing my research. And I spent years looking at all the alternatives, from the clamshell tents to the pop-up tents, the fold-open tents. I was thinking about putting a slide-in camper in the back of my truck. But I couldn't find anything that I could afford. And I really did have my mind set on a fold-open tent from 23Zero, a great company out of Australia. They make one called the Walkabout. And their claim to fame is that it's blacked out on the inside. In the middle of broad daylight, there is nearly no light that gets into the tent. And the size made it perfect for my wife and I, along with 2 dogs, to sleep up there in comfort. So I had to have it. And I went looking everywhere for it. But at $2,000, I wasn't able to afford it. Yet one day, driving down the road, I spotted a 23Zero tent on the top of an adventure trailer parked at an RV shop. So I gave him a call. I said, "Would you sell me just the tent?" And they told me they wouldn't. Unfortunately, they only sold the tent with the camper. Yet, I was in luck. There was recently somebody who bought an adventure trailer but didn't want the tent. So they had one in the back that they didn't know what to do with. Because they didn't sell them separately, they didn't even have it on the market. So they offered it to me. It turned out to be the exact tent, color included, that I was looking for. And because they didn't really care to make any money off of it, they offered it to me at wholesale cost, which blew me away. Here was a tent that I had been dreaming about for months that happened to be a couple of miles away from my house at wholesale cost for nothing extra. I didn't have to pay shipping, and where I live, didn't even have to pay sales tax. In less than a week, had it installed on my truck all by myself, which might have been a little hairy. Now, I've taken this tent to a multitude of locations. Twice down to Moab, and all the way up to Canada for a 2-week overlanding adventure throughout the Rocky Mountains. It stands up to the hype. It's quite the tent. Very comfortable, and it's really an amazing thing to be able to level your truck, fold it open, and in just a few minutes be sitting up there drinking on some hot chocolate and watching a rainstorm come over the mountain. That really did make all the deals, all the concerns, all the wear and tear and difficulty of getting this tent worth it. But is it worth it for everybody? I mean, if I was brand new to camping, would I need a topper tent to get out and go on these epic adventures? Or would I just need something to get me outside? There's 3 big reasons that if you're new to camping, I wouldn't recommend you get a topper tent. If you're just thinking about a topper tent specifically, I would be really hesitant before I recommended you go out and pull the trigger on a tent. Firstly is the price. These things are expensive. And because I got a great deal on it, it's something I don't really think about, but I know that if I was to go out and buy a new tent right now, I would still be really concerned that I could spend a lot more money on other equipment that would make my camping better. You see, thousands of dollars is a lot to put into a tent. You can go out and buy a tent at Walmart or Costco off of Amazon that will do 90% of what these topper tents will do for $100. So you could save thousands of dollars and buy the cheap items to get outside and start adventuring, and then work on finding exactly what you want. Because that's the second problem, is there's so many options out there on the market. From pop-up tents to clamshell tents. You could get adventure trailers. My tent is a fold-open tent. They're really great, but each one has their benefits and each one has their drawbacks. And so if you're new to it and you haven't done the research, which there's so much research to do, I would hesitate before you go out and buy a tent that you find out doesn't really fit your lifestyle. And thirdly, when you go out and buy a topper tent and you finally put it on your truck or whatever vehicle that you happen to be driving, you're gonna find out that because you spent a ton of money and because you invested all this time and effort, you're only gonna wanna use the topper tent, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you bought it, right? Except for there's so many adventures out there to go and have. If you have a topper tent, you're not gonna think about the backpacking trip up to the remote lake. You're not gonna think about the international trips or the destination trips. There's really cool places in Hawaii that you can camp on beaches in a traditional tent on the ground or in a hammock. You're not gonna look at the alternative ways of camping because you're gonna be focused on using your topper tent for what you paid for it. But these are adventures. There's so many of them. And to pigeonhole yourself into one adventure style because that's the one you spent all the money on, that's a hindrance in my mind. I would recommend checking out all the options. A really great way of doing this is to go check out the Overland Expos that happen throughout the summer in the United States, from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between. And this will give you a great opportunity to get into some of these topper tents. See what you like, see what you don't like, and then you could start watching out for those deals on the internet. If you found this video helpful, learned any tips or tricks into getting you out into the outdoors, please hit the like and subscribe button below. It really greatly helps out our channel, and we'll see you on the next one.